welcome in House Majority Leader John Bell. Representative Bell, it's good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing all right. You ready for this?
Absolutely. I'm doing great. It's nice to be back in Raleigh, even though it's raining today, but spirits are high in the General Assembly building today, so a lot of people here.
Well, the spirits are always high in the first day. We'll see where this goes months from now. What is your best guess for how long you think you guys will be in Raleigh this year? I mean, is this going to be like 2021?
I sure hope not. We've had our leadership meetings and conversations. Everybody seems to be on the path to get out of here by 4th of July. But that will be with us starting to work on the budget and then moving to the Senate and having those discussions to make sure we stay on time. So we're hoping 4th of July. We're actually hoping to be out of here and hope to have a summer this year.
Well, or at least a fall. I mean, even have that, or winter in 2022. You guys spent so much time.
No. This place this part-time gig became a full-time job that year. We're hoping not to repeat that.
All right, so y'all have the budget first. From your perspective, how is that going? Is it going to go, and what is your focus?
Our focus this year is going to be doing what we've done the last 10, 12 years. We're going to put forth a great budget. We're going to send it to the Senate. They're going to mess it up, and then we're going to come to an agreement in conference. But I feel good about fiscally where the state is at. We've really invested a tremendous amount in infrastructure the last couple of years. That has been really popular with a lot of cities and counties and towns across the state. We're continuing the flood mitigation strategy we put in place 2 years ago. A lot of continuation of things that we've done over the last couple of years. And so it should be a good budget year. I feel like it's going to be a very strong bipartisan budget. It's my hope that the governor will sign the budget in the day. And so I'm ready to get going. Well,
I'll ask a question about that in a second, but I have to start with this before we get to that. Everyone's watching the House so closely because you guys are so close to a supermajority, one short, so there'll be some twisting of arms perhaps of Democrats. How do you see that playing out, and is that as much a talk in your Republican caucus as it is in our political world?
Well, it's really not, because if you look in our caucus, we had a caucus yesterday where we started putting together our agenda on what our members think is important and how we want to move forward. And so we're in the process of developing that one. We've got 71 votes out of the 72 needed to do supermajority, but we've passed a lot of bipartisan bills. As you know, for following this for years, the majority of legislation that passed, about 90 to 95% of that is bipartisan anyway. It's just those controversial bills that end up making the big headlines that are divided down party lines. But I feel like that we'll have a number of members, a number of our Democrat members cross over and work with us. So we should be able to get a lot of stuff done this session.
Well, and you're right about the budget. The governor and you all have worked together to get a couple signed after having a rough time for quite some while. But things are different with that, as some are calling a functional supermajority in your side of the chamber and the other. Does that play a role? And does potential battles over abortion or other things, are you nervous that could get in the way of bipartisan work on a budget?
Well, I mean, anytime you deal with social issues, they're always going to be controversial, not just within the chamber itself along party lines, but also within the individual caucuses. So when we deal with social issues, if we take any social issues up, we're going to have to, meet concerns on both sides of the aisle, but also meet concerns within the caucus. And so those issues aren't always easy and don't always fall on party lines.
All right, I want to talk about a couple of bills individually because in your chamber in particular, this is going to be interesting to follow. Sports betting is where that bill fell apart. Senator Berger told me yesterday that he's hearing from some of the principals that it is going to start in your chamber because that's where it did. Do you think anything is different this year than last on that issue?
I do. I think we've got a great coalition of stakeholders that have been involved over the last I'd say 6 months of actually putting together a clearer, more solidified piece of legislation. I know that during the interim there's been a lot of conversations on what something could look like, how important it is to a lot of our sports teams here in the state. So I see that bill moving forward in the House, moving forward in the Senate, and get to the governor's desk this year.
All right, Medicaid expansion obviously is another big one, particularly with the House. We don't know where that's going to go. How do you see that playing out? And again, with this bill, does it feel different at all than it did just a few months ago even?
It does. Things have changed. COVID did a lot of changing to our healthcare community and access to care. So we have a number of members that are, really looking at ways that we can enhance access to care here in the state, whether it be on the Medicaid side, whether it be through our mental health programs. So you're going to see a lot of discussion on that one. And I do think that we will have something across the finish line. What that something looks like, I can't tell you right now. Because I don't know, but that is a major point of discussion, and which is frankly access to care in general.
I want to talk to you about hurricane relief still from Matthew and Florence, and this was near and dear to your area. Rebuild NC has been having a lot of problems. You've had hearings down there. There's been a little bit of leadership change, although not at the very top of that. What do you think of that news about bringing someone else new, and do you think that's going to make a huge difference, and how does that make you feel about it?
Well, we're going to continue the oversight process that you've seen play out over the last couple of months. That's first priority, to make sure that even though I think we have a lot of dysfunction in the current in-core structure, it is what it is right now. We've got to get through the Hurricane Matthew and Florence recovery phase. What you're going to see us work on this year is a way to correct that and make it better so this type of issue doesn't happen again.
When you say correct that and make it so it doesn't happen again, I know you can't tell me everything that's going to be happening, but I mean, what are some potentials with that, and does that new organizations? What could that look like?
I believe we're going to need to create a new organization, looking at what states like South Carolina and others have done, and use a model that works for North Carolina. No one can tell you right now, no one would actually say that the way NCORE is working good for the citizens of the state. Everyone agrees we have to do something different, and so we're already starting to look at other plans and other models that other states have. How that plays out, we'll do that through the committee process. I'm actually chairing a disaster relief and homeland security committee for the first committee I've chaired in a number of years, being majority leader, and that's going to be first and foremost on our mind. What do we do? How do we do it? And how do we make sure this never happens again? But we've got to have something that's functional and work for the citizens of the state, because what we have now is not working.
Obviously, that might counter what the governor wants and what he thinks about this. How do you expect that relationship to work in trying to make this all happen?
I would think on this issue we would all be on the same page. We may have some disagreements on who's responsible, where it falls under, but this is an issue that affects Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated people that vote and don't vote, and we've got to get it right. And right now we have a system that doesn't work.
What is the one thing, we're almost out of time here, one last question. What is one thing that we're not talking about that we should be, do you think, that you hope that gets done this session?
Well, it's not about what we're going to get done. It's about the people that are here. There is a tremendous amount of new people, both in the House and Senate, a lot of new faces around the building. I think somewhere close to around 30+% of members in the House chamber are either new or serving in a partial or were appointed during the interim. So we have a lot of new people, a lot of new faces, a lot of new ideas. We actually have a lot of younger people in the General Assembly. And so it's going to be an exciting time with a lot of fresh faces that are going to bring new ideas to the table. So I'm anxious to see the bills that are going to be brought forward. The bill filing started today. We've already seen bills filed, and then those working through the committee process. But I'm excited about the new group of people that are here on both sides of the aisle and in both chambers.
Well, it'll take them 10 years just to figure out which quadrant's which and how to get around in that building, but that's a whole other thing for another day, right?
It took me a couple years to figure out the parking lot and the bathroom, so I think I've got it figured out now, but this building can be a little tricky at times.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, sir, I thank you. I know it's very busy. Good to see you. Appreciate some time tonight.
Hey, thank you very much, and look forward to speaking with you again in the future.